Hey everybody, welcome to Real Talk. I'm Stacey Morgenstern, founder of Health Coach Institute, and today we are talking about a spooky topic. Yep, it's the F word, fear. Fear. We all got it. What do you do with it? Yeah, if you've ever felt fear in any aspect of your life, go ahead and give me a smiley face on the chat. Yeah, a few of us have experienced fear before. So how is fear affecting this part of your life journey? Go ahead and type into the comments, how is fear affecting this part of your life journey? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of being criticized? Are you afraid of what other people think? How is fear affecting this part of your life journey? Are you afraid of the changes that success may bring as it thrusts you to become all you can be? That's an interesting one. Yeah. Hey, Angie. She says it stops me from getting up in front of people and being seen. Okay, great. How else is fear affecting this part of your life journey? Sherry says, I keep playing small. Hi, Carla. Hi, Casey. Hi, Shanda. So we're talking about fear and how is fear affecting this part of your life journey. So go ahead and type into the comments. Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of judgment? What are you afraid of right now? How is it playing out? Because fear can be crippling, but it can also be an auspicious omen of transformation. How is that? Yeah, because it usually, when we're afraid, we're on the precipice of change, right? So how else is fear affecting your life? Yep, Samantha says it's stopping her from attracting clients, afraid of failure. Sandra's saying right now, judgment. Tammy, fear of what might happen if I get successful. So what might happen? Tell me what your imagined nightmare is. What's the future imagined nightmare that you currently carry? Mercedes says it's holding me back from my full potential because I'm afraid of rejection or failure. Casey says I'm afraid of dealing with haters, people who want to argue everything you have to say. Yeah, or attack you on social media. Oh yeah. Ashley says I'm finding I'm afraid of blissful, truly magical, dreamy success. I have a programmed belief that I should not have the amazing success that I deserve because it will make others feel bad or feel jealous or feel smaller, and I'm so ready to let this go. Wow, Ashley, that's so powerfully articulated. You said a couple of things there that are really interesting. So here's one is that I'm hearing is I'm afraid of being successful because or some people might say happy, because I'm secretly afraid that I don't really deserve it. That's a big one. That's a really big one. So then what would happen if I was really, truly happy and then somehow I got exposed? There's a risk. People might find out that I don't deserve it, and I'm on edge about that, always dodging that bullet somehow. And another one is that I'll make others feel bad, or they'll feel disempowered, or they'll feel smaller. So as I grow brighter, they get dimmer. My shining is a crime. I might outshine someone, and what a crime in that. So that can be scary. Yeah, Sherry saying that people will think I'm a fraud. Yeah, that's great. And Jillian says, fear of success and not being able to sustain it. Yeah, what a great way of saying that. That I'm afraid I'm going to have to keep up this enterprise, right? Okay, really, really good. And Samantha, I'm afraid they won't like me, so there's some they that is important. Sandra, yep, about being attacked on social media. Okay. And Rachel, I'm afraid I won't be able to adequately explain what I'm doing to others. And what do you make that mean? What might happen? So what? So what if you couldn't explain yourself? I'm wondering what is the fear associated with that? So when I first became a health coach, and I had to do what every health coach has to do, which is go out there and get that very first client, you know, make that first dollar. It's what every business owner has to do, is that very first time. You never forget your first. And I remember that I was having that initial conversation with a potential client. I never met her before. I didn't know her. She was referred to me, and I sat down with her, and we're having the conversation, and we're getting to that point where I'm going to offer her my program, and I'm so scared. I'm so tempted to chicken out. Suddenly, it dawns on me that fear is not exactly what it seems. That fear is actually right next to excitement. So another way of thinking about fear is that it's excitement on pause. Now, if you're old enough to remember cassette players, just type haha if you're old enough to remember a cassette player. And the pause button was the same as what? What was the pause button the same as? It had two functions, pause and what? Somebody type into the chat. What was the other function of the pause button? Anyone? Bueller. Right? On a cassette player, yeah, good, right. The other function of the pause button was play. Play. So if fear is excitement on pause, all we got to do is add in playfulness. So if you're feeling crippled by fear, add in play. And one way of doing that in 3 seconds is to simply go pretend you're sparring with fear, and fear is going like, you're gonna die, or people are gonna attack you, you're gonna be criticized, who are you to be a health coach, who are you to make money, who are you to be happy? And what we say back to them is you just go, oh yeah, well, and that's even enough to play with fear, to spar with fear, to go, oh yeah, well. That is the beginning of softening our fear's grip on us, is to add play. So where are you not playing enough? Where are you taking things too seriously? Where are you putting pressure on yourself to get it right, to do it perfectly? And just go, well, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. And even do that. Put up your chin. I know this seems ridiculous, but it actually tricks the nervous system, the part of us that stimulates the fear response. It has us relax. It has us just take the edge off. Oh, this is just an imagined fear. And in fact, if you've ever heard the acronym for fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. Now, some of you may have heard that before, but if you've never heard that before, it can be really transformational. So fear is excitement on pause. And when we press on the pause button, we get play. Or when we add play, the fear dissolves and we're left with excitement. So notice that fear and excitement are almost the same thing, right? But one just has a pause. And the other way of taking it off pause, besides adding play, is to add breath. Fear, the only thing that keeps fear growing is less breathing. If you add more breath, it's hard to keep the fear growing. Okay, so add play, breathe more. Now, earlier I said that fear can be an auspicious omen of transformation. So let's just talk about that for a moment. What that means is that fear is an invitation for creative power. Now, when we're fearing things or feeling anxiety and we're imagining false evidence, we're imagining bad things happening to us that haven't actually happening, why do we spend creative power on building up this fear versus building up the result that we want? One thing that we teach in our mastery training, which is our second year graduate coach training, but one of the things that we teach about is that your experience confirms your belief. Your belief creates your experience, and your experience confirms your belief. Okay? Your belief creates your experience confirms your belief. So we're always looking for evidence that we're right about our fear. So when I notice the times in my life where I've been the most successful, there's something that I just realized this morning that I do consistently. And I even did it last night. I was laying up in bed and I was feeling fear of an earthquake because I live in California and they all say that the big one is going to happen. And there was a lot of wind last night and I was laying in bed and I could feel the fear rising. And it was a similar feeling that I've had when I've been afraid in other areas of my life. Like I used to have a phobia of riding in cars, a fear that you get into an accident. And I'd sit there in the passenger seat worried that we're going to crash, which is not a very pleasant experience. Same thing with that very first client that I was afraid that she would say no to my program and I would feel rejected. So I was imagining negative outcomes. And then she actually did become my client. And then I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to get her the results. So here is like fear just playing out in my mind. And it tends to amplify when we're imagining negative outcomes. But here's the invitation, is that fear is an invitation for creativity. And how do you apply that is you start getting the results in your head before you see the evidence outside. If I were to ask probably a dozen successful people or 100 or 1,000 successful people, what is one of their keys to success? And they will all say some variation of their mindset or psychology before the skills and competency and resources and whatever. Because we all have fears that we say like, oh, there's not enough time, there's not enough money, all of these things. I was given the short stick or the unlucky stick or something like that. But actually, what diminishes fear and what has you get the results that you want in your life is imagining positive outcomes. So seeing yourself with the result as if you already have it before the evidence appears on the outside. Does that make sense? Go ahead and give me some confirmation that that makes sense. So how do I use this? Well, last night I was laying in bed and I could continue to imagine an earthquake and all the terrible things that could happen, or I could start imagining myself sleeping soundly, waking up happily, and going about a great day. When I approach a new health coaching client, I could imagine them saying no to my program, rejecting me, telling me it's too expensive, they can't afford it, not right now, whatever. Or I can imagine them saying yes to my program, and then I can imagine them getting the result. And now we're in a creative process, right? A co-creation. I call this MOJO Magic, and it has worked for years, is to start seeing yourself as already having gotten the result that you want. So what is one thing that you want to achieve or succeed at in your life right now? And go ahead and type into the chat, what is the result that you want to see? And what is it that you are already playing in your head? So let's go ahead and make a mental movie of this, this technique that I'm calling MOJO Magic. What's the result that you want to see? And let's go ahead and start playing it out in your mind's eye. What is a result that you would like to see in your life? And go ahead and play it out as a movie in your mind. Yeah, Kelly says confidence in getting my own clients and one day many. Pamela says full-time coaching. Yeah, so you've got to already see the clients on their way to you, and I play a whole movie with that, okay? So Pamela, Kelly, any of you who are starting a coaching business, yes, this is great. Andrea, Michelle, steady flow of clients, generate $2,000 per month. Sandra, clients, great, awesome. So I want to give you a detailed version of how I play this out. So I have like my health coaching practice. I really want to serve people and help them feel better. So I start imagining that somebody found me somehow, a referral or my website or on Yelp or whatever it is that they somehow discovered this thing called health coaching, and I happened to be right there, and they had this light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, I never even heard of that. That would be amazing. I want to find out more about this. So I feel their curiosity. I imagine their curiosity. Then I imagine their excitement that they found me and that they're a perfect match. And now they're on their way to me. In fact, the phone is about to ring, or I'm about to get an email. I'm going to be so delighted in receiving this email because I was expecting it. And there it is, there's the email, and they want to have an initial consultation. Now I imagine that initial consultation, that we are so connected, that the trust is built, the rapport is built, that I'm asking them great questions. I'm feeling in my zone. There's an authenticity flowing between us. They're curious about the program. They're intrigued about it. Maybe they ask some questions about it. Maybe I'm able to give them a great answer, and I'm staying calm, and I'm staying grounded, and I'm excited because I'm playing. I'm not paralyzed by this fear. I'm actually playing with them. And then they ask me even how much it is, and where I used to chicken out on that question, now I just stand my ground and I say, so this is what the program is. I might not be the cheapest program in the world, but I'm the best. And I promise you that I reach from a deep bag of tricks. And if one thing doesn't work, then we'll try something else. And we'll keep going until you get the result that you have. I'm your partner in this health journey, right? And so here we are, and we're playing, and you imagine them maybe feeling their own fear or excitement, if you make that lateral shift that we already talked about, right? So they're feeling excitement, and they go, oh my gosh, I'm kind of scared, but I'm gonna do it. And you imagine them doing it, and you imagine them giving you their credit card number or writing you a check, and you imagine them showing up to their first session ready. You imagine them through the 90-day transformation program that you learn in the Become a Health Coach program. You imagine them getting the result. Perhaps you imagine them referring you to other people. And isn't this awesome, right? So we have to stop thinking that I can't do it, right? You've got to make a game of it. Right, Deanna, exactly. Make a game and play with it. Can you feel the freshness in that? It doesn't mean that we completely eliminate fear and you'll never fear it again in your life, but instead of it becoming a thorn in your side, it now becomes a source of creativity and a source of fun, right? That we can feel the fear and do it anyway, as Susan Jeffers said. Great book, by the way. Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And that this is a way that we make success inevitable. It's one of our favorite sayings at Health Coach Institute. You might see Carrie with her mug on Tuesday Tips sometimes, and this is one of our favorite mugs. Make success inevitable. And one of the ways you do that is to not let fear devour you and instead see it as excitement on pause. How is this resonating for you? Go ahead and type a comment into the side. Yeah. Josie says, I love the toque. What's the toque? I don't even know what that is. And Samantha said, that's a writer downer. Samantha, what was the writer downer? I'd love to know. Great. Okay. This seems to be resonating for people. Now, one other thing that I wanted to share is that sitting on the sidelines makes us feel more fear. So just like I was saying that fear is excitement on pause, well, let's talk about the action then. Get into the zone. Put yourself on the field. You got to get in the game, because what I found is that the imagined nightmare is way worse than the actuality of being in it. Because we are the culture of 99 flavors of fear, right? So if we're sitting imagining negative outcomes, then our nightmare, it sprawls all over the place, versus when you're just in it. So that moment before stepping on stage is way scarier than actually stepping on stage if you're someone who's afraid of public speaking. Because what happens once you're on stage? Well, you're present. There's no more past and future. You're just right now. You got it all right now. So it's a lot less scary in it than outside of it. The infinite possibility of what we imagine can go wrong is way worse than the reality of actually doing it. So if you're finding yourself getting stopped by fear and obsessing and consumed with worry, then it's time to get in the game and actually do something that maybe you were afraid to do, but do it with the idea that it's excitement, not fear. And notice these can live side by side. Okay, great. Oh, Samantha says toque is a hat. Okay, thanks. That's great. I learned something new. Toque is the Canadian way to say hat. Okay, great. So I'm curious if there's any other questions that you have as we wrap up this conversation. What other questions do you have about fear, or something that didn't get answered today that I might be able to answer for you? I want to bring up one other thing as I'm waiting for questions to see if there's any questions that you want to provoke to continue this dialogue here. But one realization was that I realized that I was allergic to feeling good for any length of time. Does anyone have that? Some writers call this the upper limit problem, right? It's like, if I have it really good, then the other shoe's gonna drop somehow. And so I'm on the on-ramp and feeling great, but then I start bracing for impact because surely it's not gonna stay that way. It's all gonna fall out. So it's like we don't even allow ourselves to feel really good, as if we can control something bad from happening to us if we don't let it be too good. And this is some zero-sum game that we have, that there's something bad that will inevitably happen if we allow ourselves to feel too good, right? Too big for your breeches or whatever, tall poppy syndrome, so the other shoe's gonna drop. Don't you dare have a great experience of life or something bad will happen to you. And then so we're constantly bracing. And this is something that I would really love to break the chains of for myself, for humanity. So does anyone else feel that way? Yeah. Amanda says yes. Excellent. Great. A few people are saying that you recognize that. So this is something to begin to explore with yourself and with the clients that you're working with. This notion that we're only allotted a certain amount of goodness before the wrecking ball comes. Right? So that's an omen of transformation. So how good can you allow yourself to have it? Okay. And what I just want to say about that is to have the awareness and add breath, add play. That's the two things that we're really concentrating on today, is breath and play. Okay, so I want to see if there are questions here. Anisha, I was curious how to bring a client back to a positive mindset when he has allowed negative relationships back in his world after he was doing amazing. Well, it always begins with the question of what does he want? And it makes me curious, what is the payoff, or what good thing comes to him when he does have negative relationships? And that's going to seem counterintuitive. He's like, well, of course there's nothing good, but there is. There's some benefit. So what is the benefit to those negative relationships? Who does he get to be in that dynamic? And maybe there's an aspect of that, and sit with that question before immediately. Usually people are going to be like, well, nothing, and resist that. But persevere and stay with the inquiry and find out what's there. We always we keep repeating situations because there's something good in it for us, or it seems like it's good, or maybe it's just habitual. But even in that, well, what's the good thing about a habit? Is, well, it's predictable, so it's less vulnerable, because even though it's negative and toxic, it's still predictable, so I kind of know what I'm gonna get, and I'm used to it. Someone who's all accepting and conscious and communicates, and wow, that feels way more vulnerable. It actually feels more unsafe than a toxic relationship. A healthy relationship can feel more unsafe than a toxic relationship for someone who's used to having toxic relationships. Does that make sense? So we would want to find out what is the payoff, or what does a negative relationship serve? Yes. Christina saying, staying with bad relationships is very deep, addictive, deeply entrenched. Absolutely. Okay. And Tammy's saying, I definitely need more play. Good. Okay. Okay, these are fantastic. What a fun conversation this is. Deanna, what are you saying wow to? I'm curious what you're saying wow to. Okay, any other questions about fear or ways that you would like to widen the perspective about this or things you want to add? Kristen, how do you guide the client to uncovering this on their own? Well, just what I just explained. But certainly if you're in the Become a Health Coach program, this is a lot of what we talk about. These are the coaching question sequences that we teach to create a safe space to unpack fear so that fear can be a leverage point, can be a tool for transformation rather than something that cripples and paralyzes us. Okay. Hi, Christine. Aw. Hi, sweetheart. Good to see you. Okay. Deanna, if you could be more specific, she said your comments on relationships was a wow, so might help in there to know what that was. Great. So for today, I leave you with fear is excitement on pause. Fear is also excitement without breath. So add play, add breath. Get the result in your head before seeing it out or needing the evidence outside of yourself. So proceed as if success is inevitable. And what that means is see yourself with the result. So if I'm driving in a car and I'm scared of crashing, I see myself arriving safely. If I'm planning a party and I'm kind of going through that fear that no one's going to come or that it's going to be flat and boring and lame, I actually start rehearsing the party being fabulous in my head. I start to almost create the ambiance of fun in my head. If I'm about to meet with a potential client, I see them so engaged and excited about what I have to offer. I see them saying yes. I see them writing me a check. I see them pulling out their credit card. I see them getting the results that they desire. I see myself being on my game and doing a great job of being in service and believing in them, right? So this is how I practice this, is seeing the results before the evidence appears on the outside. And that's what I call MOJO Magic. I've used it for every business that I've created and every result that I've ever wanted to get. And I'm not even sure that I've taught that before, so it's kind of neat to share that. Carrie's known this for years. Every time that we put together a new program, we say MOJO Magic, and I would get some family members and my partner and my friends. Like, I would actually call people and say, hey, I'm about to put something new into the world. Can you put some MOJO Magic? And it's hilarious. For 10 seconds, I just have my friends go like, zzz, as if they were imagining me getting the results that I want to get, my dreams coming true. And just for 10 seconds, ask a few people like, MOJO Magic, yes, I see everything on its way to you right now. And I believe that makes success inevitable. And well, if I'm wrong, well, I don't know what to say about that because it makes me feel better, so I do it anyway. Heidi says, I love MOJO Magic and want to learn more about this. So thank you so much for joining. Oh, I almost forgot. Throne reading. A few books were mentioned in the comments, which are fabulous books. Susan Jeffers, the Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. The Big Leap is also another great book, Gay Hendricks. And I was reading this one in the bathroom this morning, which is Mark Nepo, The Book of Awakening, New York Times bestseller. And what I love about this book is that it's a 365 day, like, so there's a new one-page passage for every single day that, so, you know, you can like open it up on your throne. If you've never joined my Real Talk before, throne reading is where I get my reading done. So every week I like to share what I'm reading on the throne, because that's where I get my inspiration. And the reason why I get my reading done there is because I have a kid who likes to basically live on top of me. So if she could be in the bathroom with me, she would, but that's my 5 minutes of privacy. So that's where I get some of my best ideas, is on the throne, as any queen should. So this is Mark Nepo, the Book of Awakening, Having the Life You Want by Being Present for the Life You Have. And it's been a nice resource for me, those little short snippets, and it even has a kind of meditative mantra or practice at the end of each page. And they're super short. See, like, that's the one page is the whole thing. And that's helped me with my fear and to change my state really quickly, because that's one of the things about fear, is that it can elongate, it can stretch out, and sometimes we don't have an hour to meditate. That would be nice. Or 90 minutes to go to a therapy session and $300 to go to a therapy session. We don't always have those tools, or get to a yoga class. Sometimes we need to state change in an instant. And this book and these practices that I shared today are some of my secrets. So if you like this, give it a like up top, a little heart or a thumbs up, share it with someone you know who experiences fear. And if you're interested in learning about the Become a Health Coach program or our mastery program, where we go much deeper into fears and beliefs and identity and how to work with your fear in a creative way, go to healthcoachinstitute.com, and we'd love to talk to you more about that. So go ahead and leave a comment. What touched you about this Real Talk? And I will see you next week, Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Thanks, everyone.